Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the May 14th meeting of the Lents Neighborhood Livability Association. To show respect for our speakers, please silence or turn off your phones and refrain from conducting side conversations. I'll skip reading the announcements. You can find them in the agenda, and we'll move right on to our speakers. Our first speaker will be Ciatta Thompson, who's running for House District 33, which is kind of across the river, but we'd like to hear from her.
Hi everyone, I'm Ciatta Thompson, and yes, I am from the distant land of downtown Portland and northwest Portland, a smidge of St. John's and kind of into Washington County. And I'm running for House District 33, so it was Maxine Dexter's old seat before she got bumped up to Congress. Right now, the incumbent is Isidore Jones, and she was appointed about 6 to 8 weeks prior to the previous election. So she really worked hard to get that spot and has done absolutely nothing. So she voted for the transportation tax, which is what had me throw my hat in the ring. I've spent the last 5 years working downtown in hotels and had to deal with the Measure 110 in full effect. From watching people's catalytic converters get snatched to teenagers ODing in the hotel bathroom to dealers and their girlfriends selling out of the hotel rooms. And I mean like 4-star hotels, not like Motel 6. Like these are nice hotels, and had to deal with all of that. And I just could not wrap my head around why would a city as beautiful as Portland allow itself to just descend into chaos. And so I decided in 2024 to run for Portland City Council for District 4, and out of 30 people, I came in like halfway. So for someone with no name recognition and no real dollars, I felt, okay. But I wanted to continue to learn more, and I decided to stay plugged in, and I got invited to join the Democratic Multnomah Party as the second vice chair. And I joined, and I basically immediately left about 6 weeks into it because they're crazy people, unfortunately, and it got upset with me because I didn't want to experiment on teenagers and pump them full of drugs and tell them magical Christmas fairy tales about transing and all of that. So that was a big thing for me. And I found my way to the Republican Party. So 2-time Bernie bro, Obama superfan turned Republican. And for me, it just, was about common sense, about making sure that we had public safety, public health, and a strong economy, which unfortunately, if you noticed, isn't anything close to what we've got going on. Just in the last handful of days, they came out to announce 41% of Portlanders are considering moving. So I'm sure no one in this room has considered that. But for those who are considering, it's a common dialogue that I'm running across where people are literally like, as soon as my kid is done with school, as soon as I retire, as soon as this, or as soon as that. And it breaks my heart. I've been coming to Portland now for the last decade. I'm originally from the East Coast, New York, and I helped move my friend out here in like 2012. So I got to see over the various times I visited in the last handful of years that how beautiful it was, one of the best places to live. So I just couldn't figure out what happened. Obviously, as I said, Measure 110 hit hard. Obviously, COVID didn't help, and the rules that they instilled behind that. And for me, it's just super simple. It's pulling back the things that are scaring people away. It's the high taxes, second only to New York City. And I love New York, but this ain't New York. So if we're gonna pay for New York prices, we should at least get New York experiences, services, police, fire, emergency management in a real way, potholes, obviously the homeless issue, the crisis that's been exploited by some people who have told you you're bad people for saying it's not okay to do drugs in public, it's not okay to steal, it's not okay to, let's just bring common sense back. That's where my standpoint is, and this is what I'm fighting for. And so, yeah, that's the biggest thing for me that is moving my campaign. And I'm not too surprised. I mean, I am running in a very blue district, so I do have a big hill to climb, but more people are reaching out to me and are like, I totally agree with what you're saying, and I'm also a Democrat, and I totally agree with what you're saying, let me know how I can help. And it's like NABs, so that, not affiliated, a lot of Democrats who are just over it. The needle, they call it exchange, but distribution in school zones. All of these things that just are hurting the community and scaring kids and your children. They're moving out, they're not coming here, they're not setting up families, they're not building a life here. They're going to Austin, Nashville, other places that have capitalism and are thriving. So look at Starbucks, they just took off. Dutch Brothers, they left. And it's just going on and on and on. So that's kind of me, what I'm up to, and I'm just get to play a long game. I don't have a primary opponent, but these sweet folks, we met a few months ago for breakfast, and we chatted, and they invited me to come talk to y'all, and because, I just care about Oregon, period, so I know it's a little bit outside of my area, but I still wanted to touch base and talk to folks. So if you have questions, shoot. If not, I'll give Danielle my time. Yes, sir.
You said you were a two-time Bernie bro, Obama person.
Yes, sir.
You're on the Democratic Party.
I was, yeah.
How hard was it for you to leave?
Super easy. Portland red pilled me. Yes, sir.
Because what? What?
Biggest thing was the transing of kids and the proliferation of that. And I had hoped after the election, as a working class candidate, that they would realize, oh, we miscalculated. Okay, the messaging was off. We need to turn things around. And so when I got invited to join the county party, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, they gotta realize where they screwed up, right? No, they did not. And not even that, they don't know, they don't care. It's their program for, the DSA is basically taken over the leadership. I mean, Angelita's second, or her chief of staff is the vice chair. Shannon Singleton's chief of staff, thank you, is the chair of they're Marxists, so they don't care. So they don't care if the party is shrinking, and they're literally scaring regular people away.
So how do we convince moderate Democrats to vote in the general election when it comes up, not to vote for Tina Kotek?
I'm very clear that I'm not going to be for everyone, and whoever the primary winner is, they're going to, for the gubernatorial position.
Yeah.
I think they're going to spend a lot of time here, obviously, in Portland, and the choice is simply this: are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
No way.
No.
And that's the question we all have to ask ourselves. There are going to certainly be people who can't get past Trump, and there are going to be robots about it, and Trump bad, and Trump bad. And okay, but that's not who I'm going for. I'm going for people who can see the forest from the trees and understand that they probably have. We only have, I would honestly say, this year to start to make a new choice and start moving things in a different direction, or in a handful of years, bankruptcy court is in Portland's future, and the more people will be leaving. So I don't know. Yes, sir.
Are you aware of the new water infiltration?
Yeah, Bull Run.
And so that was originally going to be a choice between $100 million and $500 million.
Yes, sir.
and now it's gonna be 2.5 billion is what they're predicting they're gonna start building it.
Sure.
So it's probably gonna be more than that.
Yep.
They just had a $12 a month fee to our water bill,
They did.
and once that's completed, the water infiltration plant, our water bills are gonna go up 50%.
Sure. It's terrible. I think, we got to one. I think before dollars spent, and I would hope that, Danielle speaks into this, that any major infrastructure, plan, whether it's PG, all of these things, we really pause and like look at the numbers and do some real forensic accounting. That's
I think the
outlandish.
new city council might take a look at that
That's hilarious.
and cancel that,
Sure.
and go back to the $100 million model.
Well, let's get Eli Arnold in, who's running for D4. Well, look, we're never gonna get anywhere because the communists block everything, right? Even if they're not moving anything forward, the peacocks, they're there to just gum up the works, right?
So,
With fog
I'm
logic.
gonna jump in and say that the reason it can't go backwards is because there was significant land use appeals that they lost. Because they did not show up as an informed body, as the county and the city as a collaborative partner to fight two entities, the environmentalists who were fighting against this because they weren't putting in certain filtration systems that they couldn't afford and weren't necessary. And there's a requirement for a parasite for a system to be designed to combat, which is why that bull run system exists to begin with. And the technology for that kept escalating. Every time there was an appeal and a loss, they had to start over again, and that technology would evolve and it would cost more. There's no going backwards. They need to get it done, but the biggest problem right now is DEQ. And they also they didn't ask for permission, they were gonna ask for forgiveness when it came to environmental assessment standards, which you can't do under any infrastructure program, period, in America because of the Endangered Species Act and the way the federal government under Biden was imposing it. Under Trump, there's possibilities for systems to decline in cost, but they have to get through the rulemaking process, right, that's happening right now federally in order for it to be successful. But right now, Portland just needs to get this done.
So you're saying that they need to get what done?
They need to get the entire plant done. And if they don't complete it, it's going to continue to get stalled through different processes that different organizations want to see in place that only escalate the cost of the project overall. And because they didn't do a proper environmental assessment on it to begin with, it got held up under certain federal standards. They lost in lawsuit on that. They kept losing in these legal arguments, and every time you lose, you kind of have to go back to the drawing board. They just didn't set it up for success from the beginning.
And so when you say they lost, that was trying to make it cheaper to build, or what?
It wasn't that they were trying to make it cheaper to build, it was like they were trying to get around some of the rules to apply the expectation of standards to some of the filtration systems for the particular parasite. And environmentalists in Oregon want you to do the gold standard versus the basic standard. And governments, if you are not prepared, I'm a county commissioner, if I don't do the basic within the rule standard for an environmental assessment,
You're gonna get called out on it?
you're gonna lose to environmentalists consistently every time they show up. So you have to do the bare minimum. Well, the Biden administration and the Kotek administration and Brown before her kind of emphasized the extras through land use controls, through DLCD, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, and then it compounded with the Endangered Species Act because of the environmental impact assessment that they didn't do properly from the beginning. There was just all these triggers that they should have known about. Their engineer should have written them a better plan, because bureaucrats are bureaucrats. You hire consultants for a reason in their area of expertise, but you always get what you pay for.
Well, so that's the explanation, which is not surprising. But the problem is that a lot of people here have $350 to $450 every quarter water bills. And if those double from here, plus the $12 a month, it's really gonna hurt people. And these politicians say they care about equity or this or that. Who are they hurting? They're not hurting the rich, they're hurting the poor.
Yeah, but
But
that's
they
the
also have
plan.
rich have to pay it too.
Well,
You know,
overall, like
Hit the
the,
rich.
No, I'm not hitting the rich.
No, sorry then.
No, I'm not hitting the rich, I'm
I mean,
hitting the reality of who their policies hurt.
They don't care, they just don't care.
No.
There's so much fraud probably going on in this state, we could pay for all our water.
Yes.
Well, for sure, the Marxists
I
don't
know my
care.
water's not free, if I'm being totally honest. It does fall out of the sky here, like on a
Well, I
regular
mean,
basis.
it's the bridge thing. I
A
mean,
bridge thing?
well, look, they want to bridge over the river.
Oh, right,
High five.
the new bridge. yeah.
Oh, I'm from Marion County, we've got a bridge killed down there by the progressives, so yes, I want a bridge over.
They keep doubling in price and on all, they just keep repeating the same things.
And again, they didn't have the right people at the table from the beginning, which is why that project keeps escalating in cost, and because the state has 3 types of procurement, and they're choosing the most expensive ones in their bridge projects.
Yeah, well, you know, they're not San Francisco and they don't have the money, so just, you
Well,
know.
not just that, but more than 50% of the bridge. So the reason why we need a bridge is because the biggest choke point from Canada to San Diego on I-5.
Mhm.
And so rather than expanding, Wilsonville too?
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I'm
Yeah.
totally kidding.
So rather than expanding the car lanes, they're keeping the same amount of car lanes and they're adding for bicycles, pedestrians, and mats, which is over 50% of the new bridge.
Right.
Well, I'm not gonna
Absolutely.
be able to do that under the federal Trump administration, because under the transportation package that Congress passed under this administration, he made it very clear, I was just there in February talking to transportation, that if you ask for any grant money that has to do with people or bikes, you will not get approved. It's a mandate from the president. And so Oregon right now is trying to figure out how to navigate that, because their priority expansion of the I-5 bridge is for pedestrians. It is not for vehicles. And there's an argument trying to be made that I have listened to a variety of ways delivered about the max going over the bridge. And I can see how that is probably a more viable investment than worrying about bike lanes or walking lanes, because I don't know how many people get stuck waiting to walk across the bridge. I understand the expansion of that for future use, but my issue as an Oregonian and somebody that has to pay for that statewide is it's not affordable, and you can't get in the way of progress, but you should plan progress, and they are not thoughtfully planning progress with all the partners at the table.
Well, my proposal would be.
If I can pause, it's actually your time, so.
No, you're fine.
Have 6 or 7. Rather than 3 each way.
Yeah, I think that's great. You
know,
don't
that's
have
the
to sit
future
down.
use.
We can just do a joint conversation.
All good, all good.
She's like, I'm out of here.
You got me there, but I don't know bridge talk.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people take transit across that bridge now?
Well, not enough to pay for it.
It's about 400 a day. And for that, they want to spend, what is it, $2 or $3 billion?
Well, it's just like the argument that you hear from bus transportation in non-major urban areas. We see in the Salem area empty buses driving around all the time. And it's not because people don't want to ride a bus out of convenience. They don't ride a bus because the bus isn't convenient for them. The the schedule isn't convenient, the stops aren't convenient, they're not convenient for single moms who are toting their kids around their band equipment, their sports things. It's not convenient for a senior to take their little buggy to a bus stop to go to the store and back.
Now, do you know that TriMet spends more money moving each person each mile than taxi fare?
I mean, I did know that, but I'm not surprised. But we're gonna talk about transportation in a minute.
I'm sorry.
So, I'm Danielle Bethell. I'm happy to be here. I
We're
am,
happy to have you.
thank you. Oh, it's fine, I can handle it. I am a 5th generation Oregonian, so been here a little bit longer than a decade. Came from the Eugene area. I was born in Eugene, rather. And I married into a timber family in Marion County. I pretty much grew up in Salem. My husband's from Staten. We live outside of Staten now. I have 3 children and 2 granddaughters. I own a plumbing company, and I'm a 2-term sitting Republican county commissioner in a very purple county. Marion County is the 5th largest county in the state, and we've been Republican seated, run for 48 years. It's like the longest reigning community of Republicans holding on to common sense in the state. And a lot of people don't know that because Salem is in Marion County. Most people just assume it's very liberal. It's not. But it is the most diverse county and the most impoverished county in the state. We are the #1 ag producing economy of Oregon. We have almost 2,800 small farms. And because of that, we have the largest migrant population. So we deal with kind of the gamut of challenges that any community is complaining about on a big level. I never chose, like woke up one day and said, oh, I want to be a politician, or I want to be the governor, or even a county commissioner. In fact, in 2018, I was running a chamber of commerce, and I had been operating my own business at that time for 9 years. And I got really angry as a mom about the education system. In the community I lived in at the time, which was the city of Kaiser, I had raised many millions of dollars for kids in sports, helping families navigate activities in the community to just create what I believe is a community-led society of neighborhoods. We didn't let the government dictate to us, we did the work together. Well, my son got in trouble in the 7th grade for pantsing one of his friends in the boys' locker room when they were playing the pantsing war. If you have a son, I'm sure you all have experienced why they think that is entertaining. I don't know, but they do. And the school district tried to label him as a sexual predator.
Yep.
And I was like, this is so bizarre. He's just a knucklehead, like, you know, tell him to keep his hands to himself, don't be dumb, and move on. But it became it was like a very aggressive designation that they wanted to apply to him, and maybe tonight you'll get to see, but I'm a very aggressive person. Like,
Good.
I will fight, those are my children, I am very possessive of them, grew them in my own body, they are mine. So I went through the whole process in my community. I called every person I should call, including the superintendent who I knew, to try to get help of like, why is this happening? And I just kept getting shut down. I kept hearing, well, that's just how the system is designed, or that's how the rules are made up, or like nobody cared. Nobody cared about the fact that this was just a kid being silly and he needed to learn respect and we should address that and move on. So I called my school board representative, who'd been on the school board at the time for 12 years, and said, hey, his name was Chuck, I need your help here. Like, this is crazy. And he said, I remember the day, it was October 5th, 2018. I was sitting in my office, and he said, you know, it's just how the rules are. It won't matter, because when he gets out, the record won't follow him, past graduation. And I was like, I don't care if it does or it doesn't. Like, this is wrong, and we're not going to stand up for it, or we're going to stand up against injustice. Like, do something. And he just couldn't get there with me. So I said, well, Chuck, that doesn't work for me. I'm going to have to run against you next spring because I need somebody who's going to represent me on this school board, and you are not doing it. And by the way, do we even have any parents on this school board? Who's on this school board? I didn't know. I was not involved in politics other than being a chamber executive and dealing with the economics of politics, like businesses and the challenges there. I didn't get into the social issues. So I did. I ran the next spring, and I won. And he out fundraised me 3-1, and I beat him 2-1 on the ballot. And it was a really big deal for me because it thrust me into this public light of madness. And then COVID happened. So I got sworn in June of 2019. COVID came around the next spring, and Salem Kaiser School Board is the second largest in the state. It has 62,000 kids that are in that district. And there's an episode of HBO Vice about our school board that occurred during the kind of Black Lives Matter movement when a gentleman was killed in Florida. Some things happened in the community, and we wouldn't take positions on those things because they were not in our community and it was outside our purview. I do not believe that an elected official should, in their elected role, have a position on something they can't control. So I'm not going to pass a proclamation on why the sky is pink today if I can't make the sky blue. Like, it just seems stupid to me. But then COVID came about, and we had to go online. And during that process, we were actually violating our own rules as an elected body because the rules said we had to meet in person. And we had a member of the board who came to an electronic meeting and was being difficult. And during that, like a Zoom meeting, he wouldn't have turned his camera on. Then when we got him to turn his camera on, he had a cardboard cutout of Cliff Robinson as his cover. Because he was like, prove that it's me. That was his principle. Like, you can't prove it's me. We're not in person. And that thrust us into this space where they were calling us racist because we were allowing him to perform blackface. And just to be clear, I didn't know what that was. I had never heard of blackface before. I had to Google it. I was like, I don't know. And then I was just insulted because I couldn't believe it. Anyway, during the period of that like 6 months of this really escalating, because it was over 3 years where we got into the mud of chaos. I mean, we had Antifa coming to Salem and trolling us and following me home. My kids were being harassed. I was like, what the hell is wrong with the world? What? I mean, people are literally losing their minds. And I'm like in the thick of it, just trying to figure out how to get my kid a basic education and let him be a little boy. And a few months after all this started, I was asked to run for county commissioner. And I thought they were out of their mind. I was like, are you sure you want me out there running for commissioner? Because do you see how I am behaving as a school board member? And they said, actually, yes, that's exactly why we want you to run. And I thought, okay. I said no initially because I didn't know what commissioners did. And I didn't want to be a politician because frankly, I don't do well in politics. I tell the truth. I tell the truth fiercely. And I really don't care if you don't like it. And I'm very strong about that because I think we should all receive the truth even if we are uncomfortable with it. Thank you. So I've now been a commissioner almost 6 full years. Just got my 5-year pen today. It's only a few months late. And I've been able to understand now from the root of government why this state is such a dumpster fire. Did you know you were coming to a comedy show tonight? Yeah. So in my time as a commissioner, I have been able to design programs that create public safety, reduce homelessness, stabilize mental health. I led the recriminalization effort of hard drugs in Oregon. House Bill 4002 is my leadership. It's my work in policy design, and it passed, which is why hard drugs are now illegal to use and distribute in Oregon again. Yeah. And I understand how much it costs to fill a pothole and why people don't use public transportation. My county is the leading county in economics. We don't raise taxes or fees, we balance systems, and we live within our means, and we're still thriving in growth of housing, growth of business and industry. We're the only county that provides industrial tax incentives for people to grow their businesses for retention, and we have tripled the size of some of our industries in the last 5 years. We're the only county in the state that can say that, and it's because we work with businesses and figure out what their needs are, and then we navigate within the rules to deliver what they need to be successful. I just understand it. So last year, actually in October of 2024, a bunch of my peers were talking, my county commissioner peers were talking about like, what are we gonna do? Because we can't continue to lead from the middle. Counties are where the rubber hits the road. We are the service deliverers of government in this state. It's not the state, it's not the cities. But we can't be successful because we keep hitting our head on the state legislature and the governor's office. And we have no competent leadership in the legislature and certainly not in the governor's office. And I really sincerely mean that. And I have said this to all the legislators' faces. Why don't you know more about the systems and how they work in this state? What is your job? It is to know what your community needs and who is the person to deliver that and help them do it. But all we have is a bunch of power mongers that come into the legislature with their own agenda, knowing nothing and doing nothing. And I'm tired of it. So I asked them, who is going to run for governor? One of you has to run for governor because we can't have somebody else do it again. Like, I worked on Drazen's race in 2022, and
I'm glad that she ran. I'm frustrated that she didn't win. I feel very confident in knowing why she didn't win. I just don't want a legislator back in the governor's office. I just don't, because they can't do jack shit well in the legislature, so what makes you think they can do well in the governor's office? And it's all of a sudden, civics is important. There are 3 systems of government. Why anyone thinks that the legislative branch can run the executive branch is beyond me, but you obviously didn't read any kind of civic books when you were in school if you think that's the case, because they are not the same systems at all. The only level of government in Oregon that is the policy branch, a judicial branch, and the executive branch together is what? Does anyone know?
Probably the county.
The counties. County commissioners operate in all 3 branches of government at the local level. It is. Multnomah County is a giant reason as to why this state is going backwards, and it's because the commissioners do not understand their authority, their role, and how to do their jobs, because all of them are ladder climbers and they just want to get to the next thing to get the most money to produce their agenda. I do have hope with one of them.
Which one?
I'm not going to tell you. I almost said the gender, and I would have given it
For
away.
governor, you mean, or?
No, it's
County
commissioner.
commissioner.
I'll just tell you. I think Vince can figure it out.
Oh, Vince, okay.
Yeah. He's the only one so far that I
He's
can.
not running for chair.
No.
No, not yet. He's not ready. He needs to understand his job well before he jumps out there and tells you what he's going to do to change the space. If I had my way, Sharon Myron would be the one running for chair.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we're
I
on
know,
for chair.
I was listening to, I know a lot of people don't like her because someone said to me the other day, I can't listen fast enough in the room she's in. I had to think about that, and I thought,
get that.
I can
Yeah.
listen as fast as she talks
Yeah.
as I talk as fast as she does,
Yeah,
and I think she's brilliant.
yeah.
And she is a very liberal person, and as a conservative person, when she was on the commission, we worked very, very well together. Very, very well together. In fact, if you called her today and asked her about me, she would say she hopes to God that I get this. Because I'm producing real outcomes in the areas that she wants to see in Multnomah County. The accountability in homelessness and mental health, I'm producing results even within the dysfunctional laws of Oregon. I could be much further down the road if the legislature would get out of my way and just frankly give me what I want, which is a change in state laws. For 5 years, we worked to get one thing accomplished. We got it done in 2025, and we only got 50% of it.
Yeah.
Next year, I'll fight again for the rest. I almost had it across the finish line this year, but Jason Kropp got in my way.
Don't worry. Well,
Republican or Democrat?
I'm just going to tell you, he's a giant asshole out of bed, and he is a Democrat. And he was the chair of the Judiciary Committee. And he got dethroned because he was very disrespectful to Rep. Tran in the last week of the session.
Oh, he's the one that,
He's the one.
yeah,
He's a total
Yeah.
misogynist.
yeah.
Total.
Took her out back and changed her mind.
He took her right in the hallway, and I watched him do it. He's a bully, and I think she's going to do just fine this next session because they unseated him for a reason. I was a little surprised that they did. Anyway, none of my peers wanted to run for governor, and I didn't either. But I said I would go talk to the people that I think are going to run and find out what the lay of the land looks like. I did that, except for Christine. She wouldn't call me back. I sat down with Ed, who, by the way, until the week before he announced his race, was supporting mine, flying me in his plane, actively attending my fundraisers, introducing me to people as the next governor of Oregon. Met with Chris Dudley multiple times. In fact, I would consider Chris a friend. And Chris just really believes that you can't win unless you have money. I don't actually believe that to be the case because Oregon's grassroots fire is really moving. People in this state want passion and intelligence, I think mixed with a little bit of grit, because they are tired of being beat down by the feds and not delivered by the people in the community at the legislature.
Yes, yes.
I just do. So after all the people that I asked who I believed were going to run said no or I don't know, I was like, we just need a decisive leader and somebody willing to take a risk. I'll do it. And so I called around the state to all the counties and said to my peers, like, I think I'm going to do it. And they were thrilled. I have support in 60% of the counties in this state from county commissioners, really with a lot of momentum behind me. And while I don't have the millions of dollars, the Portland media is leaning in. And of course, you know, they're doing the head-to-head co-tech Drazen race. I mean, that's what they feel is coming out on Tuesday. And they're saying Drazen can't win, so they're trying to set me up for 2030, which I'm like, I don't want another 4 years of this. I'm gonna finish my campaign all the way through the primary, because every single time I show up in front of a room, I earn people's trust and I earn their votes.
Yes.
And it's been a daily thing for over a year.
Do you know how to do AI?
Yeah.
A guy in California running for governor is doing some great AI.
No, mayor.
Oh, mayor.
No, both. So Spencer is also doing AI, and so is Chief Blanco. And they're both, and Blanco is doing a great job with AI. He is very entertaining. He's paying somebody. I don't have the money to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm finishing a lot of my race in the next 5 days with digital, but it won't be that kind of digital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my job was to get in the Portland media, and I have done that. I have raised under $300,000, and I am competing with candidates who have millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I'm competing, like, they wouldn't take real debates with me because they can't answer a question. And when I press them, they freak out. And the reason is because none of them are service deliverers. None of them can answer the question of the how or the why because they're not doing it today. But I am. I run every single system of government today that the governor runs except for education. And I already spent a full term sitting, listening to the challenges and navigating ODE's challenges on the second largest school board in the state. And I tell you, I never, ever will be on a school board again. Never.
Well, as governor, you have the oversight of the school,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Did you get
Superintendent
some
of
of that
education.
stuff out of this?
All of it. Yep. So nothing that has destroyed our classrooms today is written in law. It's all by rule or direction of the superintendent of education, who is the governor. For education specifically, it's really not that hard to fix, and it doesn't need to take 12 years. I don't know if y'all know this, but about a month ago, the two department heads that run the co-directors of ODE, Oregon Department of Education, presented to the Oregon Board of Education their plan of recovery. 12 years.
Oh,
They can improve reading by about 40% in a whole generation.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know, how many of you have children, just out of curiosity?
Well, we have grown children.
But you all have had children, and you know that no matter what,
Yeah.
children will rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
They can rise to any challenge because kids do not know what they don't know.
That's right.
Until you tell them,
That's right.
they are so innocent in that space. So for me, I grew up in deep poverty. My mom had bipolar schizophrenia. My parents divorced when I was 3, and we navigated homelessness with her throughout her mental illness and addiction until she left me when I was 16. It wasn't until I was 16 and a school counselor tagged me with a new label that I realized that I was some kind of a statistic. Seriously, I'm still questioning it, by the way.
What was the label?
What was the label?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go back and look it up. But essentially, they were like, I should feel bad for myself because my mom left and I didn't have a home.
You're a victim.
You're a
The-
victim.
Yeah, I mean, essentially it was that. But I was raised to be a good person, to be a good kid, to be helpful. And if you do those things, then people are going to want you to be around.
Yeah.
And I took that and I just mastered it. And I never had to live on the streets. I just had to live with a lot of different people. But it was nothing new because with my mom, we lived with a lot of different people. And sometimes she wasn't around and I was living with regular people when I was a kid. So it just seemed like what you were supposed to do. I can tell you now, making any level of major change in my life was very difficult. My husband and I have been married for almost 22 years. And in 2022, we bought a small farm. And I still have things in boxes because I can't quite figure out what to do with the stuff. Because I'm just used to this like constant evolution of change. But I really like where I live. So someday I'll put pictures on the wall. Let's see.
So the Portland media, you said you're making some inroads. Is that the media or is that, who are you referring to?
The Oregonian, Willamette, we like pick a major news source, and they are like, they really like me. The Oregonian actually wrote a really interesting article In fact, the editorial board of the Oregonian, when I did the interview, I felt like we should go have coffee afterwards because they enjoyed their time so much, and they kept telling me that. Because they ask a question and I answer it. I'm not afraid to tell you what I believe or what I know. And I think I know for a fact that is a unique character trait that I have over any other candidate in this race who just gives you the pontificating 3 stupid points that they think that they need to win. And I can say all those same things too. But I'm tired of the superficial nature of people saying that they're a leader. I want people who are proven leaders in this job. And it doesn't have to be the shiniest, richest candidate. It needs to be the person who's going to show up and test the status quo and hold people to the account that they say that they're there for. One of the questions the media has been asking us for months is, let's say that you're the only Republican that wins in November, and it's still a supermajority in the legislature. How are you going to work with the Democrats? Like the same way I do now. Mm-hmm. I show up and I build a relationship and I get to understand why they're there. And then we work together. The whole point of being a leader is to sit at the table with all the people and build collaboration and produce balanced outcomes. I'm not interested in swinging the pendulum so far to the right that the left is miserable. I don't think that that's the mature way to lead. I have to do that today as a county commissioner. There are many liberals in my community that hate my guts, but still choose to live in the community that I am leading on their behalf of because it's safe, it's clean, it's affordable, and you can go rent an apartment if you want to. I haven't heard a candidate besides me yet answer any real questions. How I'm going to solve the homeless problem and scale it statewide. How I'll tackle transportation and solid waste, public safety, behavioral health, the assessment issue. Measures 5 and 50, the PERS debacle. There's so many issues across the board that are causing this state to fail and go bankrupt. And the reason they can't answer the questions is because they're not in the weeds right now.
Well, nobody even talks about the PERS. Nobody even talks about some of these major...
Well, it's because it's a scary conversation because there's no yet real solution. And the reason for that is because the unions run the world here and they want more and more and more. Right now, I'm sitting at a bargaining table as a county commissioner with 8 units. 8 separate unions in just my county alone are bargaining for their wants. And the things they ask for are so bizarre and out of this world, but they think that they're entitled to it. Mm-hmm. And my response every bargaining cycle is very clear. If you want X, then you have to tell me who doesn't get a job. Because I'm going to spend the amount of money I have today on the same number of people to produce more services. Because our goal is always more, not less. So you can do 2 jobs if you want, but I'm going to pay you a little bit more, but not more than. And we have to eliminate jobs. Marion County's on a hiring freeze right now. Because we have to be able to maintain essential services within our system of affordability. And we are not going to go after more fees, like your stupid $12 water fee, in order to pay for that. If the system can't pay for itself, it doesn't exist, which means you have to prioritize. Every single agency should live within its statutory mission, and they are so far outside of their scope creep in their missions right now, we can't afford them. They have chosen to become what I call a new planet of power, and they've sucked everything up to the state level, which costs 3 times what it would cost at the county or city level to produce. And we are the service deliverers, not the state. The state is supposed to set basic direction, acquire federal money, and distribute it. The same with the legislature. And they're supposed to partner with counties. And cities and counties are supposed to work together. But we don't have those systems anymore because everything is so hyperbolic and ideological driven in the state. It doesn't have to be that way. If you have a leader that shows up in the space and holds you accountable and knows what the hell they're talking about, there's a lot less fighting in the room because a lot of them don't know anything.
So when you're governor, can you hold some of the counties that are
Yes.
not performing or?
Yep.
Oh.
How are the PERS?
How are you going to control Multnomah County when 6 of them are avowed communists and are ashamed to say that? That is
That's a
That's
county against
very,
us.
very difficult thing to overcome. In fact, it's bringing down Europe right now.
Well,
Yeah, so that's the city of Portland and not the county, Multnomah County, but the city of Portland. And the way you do that is through 2 things. One, they need more money, they're failing. You saw, I'm sure, that Mayor Wilson went and asked his neighbors for $1 billion and they said no. Rightfully so. And the governor has the biggest bully pulpit in the state. Right now, it's only used as a bullhorn to champion that nonsense. But if I get access to that bullhorn, I'm going to shame those people into oblivion and point out every failure that they have performed since they've been in office. And there's not enough of them to continue to repeat these failures. The population of DSA in Portland is 12,000. There's almost 900,000 people that live up there. Why are 12,000 people running the world? Well, because the majority of people are not showing up to fight for themselves in a vocal space and at the ballot. Ranked choice voting did not help you all, for sure. It did not.
No.
But it is here right now, and until somebody sues it for harm and makes it go away, it'll be here for a while. But when you have somebody in the governor's office that understands the details of all these systems and what their real job is supposed to be, and shows up in the room and points at you, and then makes you look like the asshole, things change.
Are you gonna have a bodyguard?
Oh, what?
I will. I mean, the governor has Oregon State Police, but I have said often, I have been on the receiving end of bullets more than I have been on the delivering end of bullets, because I grew up in spaces where there were a lot of gang violence, and I'm not afraid of it.
No.
I don't want to be shot, though, by any means.
Danielle, if there's a chance you don't win governor and a Republican does, would you go and help them?
I will not help Ed Deal. I won't. I don't believe in helping people who do what he did. And he didn't just betray me or lie to me. He's lied to many people, and he's lied to all of you through his campaign. And I don't believe that we deserve somebody to be in office that lies during a campaign and then promises to be truthful in office. I won't help Ed.
So that's a big boom. What about the other people?
I will absolutely help them. Yes, sir.
My issue is the roads in
Okay.
Portland here. They're terrible.
Do you drive a motorcycle?
Yes. I know two people that were killed because of the roads too. Unfortunately, I know two
Yeah.
people that were killed direct because of the
Yeah.
roads. They hit a hole or a rut.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to ride my bike at night, really.
I believe you.
I challenge any motorcycle rider, go down 92nd or a bunch of other streets here in Portland and tell me it's safe.
Yeah, so some of the
There's nowhere you can steer to get around them,
No.
Yeah.
especially like on 92nd. You go this way, there's a right here, over here there's one.
Well, there's
You
an
can't
issue of
get around it.
prioritization and transportation.
And I've been hearing this, I've been on this for years, and nobody's ever done anything. They'll fill potholes, but that doesn't work. They just come out in the wintertime, and it makes a hump instead of a hole, which didn't really help anything.
So
They need to be fixed and repaved, period. There's
You want
no,
me to tell you how to
there's no
do that?
repair to them, they need to be redone.
So at the state level, through the Oregon Department of Transportation and the Department of Land Conservation and Development, why they're at the table, I'm unsure, but they are. They've created state policy that has forced urbanization. And urbanization is not paving, it's pathways for people and bikes and safety. And the prioritization of that means that the resources have to go into those systems versus basic maintenance and essential services. And the state budget, the gas tax that you pay at the pump, is split three ways. You probably should have this memorized because of the referendum. But 100% of the gas tax dollars get separated three ways. 50% goes to the state, 30% goes to counties, and 20% goes to cities. And then they have to prioritize how they're going to spend that within the window of maintenance, which is only 3 months a year in Oregon because of the rain. And guess what? They don't partner. It blows my mind that they don't partner together. The cities and the counties don't work together more to produce further repavement or other systems. The city of Portland, as an example, doesn't do an overlay program called chip sealing. Now, a lot of motorcyclists don't like chip sealing, but it's better than just filling potholes and leaving them to be broken in the winter. It gets further use out of the road long term, and it prevents potholes from reoccurring in the cycle. It's a priority as to what we do in Marion County and all of our rural areas, and we have some of the worst road wear and tear because of the agriculture equipment that are on our roads. It's a proven scientific system that we don't prioritize here in Oregon, and that most jurisdictions don't prioritize, and most local elected leaders, county commissioners, and city councilors don't know about it because they don't get in the weeds. What
is that? What is the chip? What is that?
Chip sealing is where they basically sweep the road, they sweep the asphalt clean, and they come back and they lay a new layer of asphalt, gravel, and oil over it, and they smooth it out. And it's rough at first, it makes it more of a rough surface, but it prevents cracking, which is called alligatoring in the system, and potholing and divots. And it fills it in and it makes it really smooth.
How long does that last and what's the cost of it?
It can take, well, the cost depends on how many miles you're gonna do and who your supplier is and when you do it. So I can't give you a direct answer, but Marion County this year is gonna spend somewhere around $3 million on it, and we will end up doing, 28 miles of road, I think is what our goal is this year. So it's actually the best value for your dollar, because repaving a full structure is 3 times that. It's very, very, very expensive. But the reason motorcyclists and bicyclists as a priority don't like it is because of the fine. It doesn't make the road super smooth. And people who walk don't like it either. I don't actually care, because the road is for vehicles. And eventually, over months, it does settle down. But at first, it's kind of a rigid drive. Another issue that we have in transportation is urbanization through the CFEC, Climate Friendly Equitable Communities Plan, that was forced on every city of the state. And Marion County is the only county that was forced on. And it's an urbanization model that requires you to densify your community and make a plan for transportation focusing on public transportation, bikes, and pedestrians. It doesn't quantify the amount of people you're going to bring into your dense community who are going to drive a car, which means there's no money for enhanced transportation. So every time the state passes one of these rules, by the way, this is not legislated, this is just rules in these agencies that they make up, that the governor can come in and realign or get rid of entirely. With prioritization, you should prioritize what you have and plan for what you want.
What is it called?
CFEC, Climate Friendly Equitable Communities. CFEC, and it's forced by the Department of Land Conservation and Development on every city in the state. Well, every city over 8,000.
They take a whole lane away and turn it into bike lanes on each side of the road.
Yeah.
2 ways, each way, two lanes. for
Yeah,
bikes
and they
on
also,
each
what they do is the federal government under Biden and under Obama forced a new urbanization standard on transportation that increased the cost of paving a mile by $1 million. And the reason for that is because we had to put in curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. And those sidewalks had to have ADA ramps on them. And those ADA ramps are very expensive. And so when you see like all these corner curb cutouts, every one of those corner cutouts, depending on the jurisdiction, is costing between $25,000 and $40,000. And if you have a city that has a lot of sidewalk in it and a lot of streets like Portland, you're spending multi-million dollars for those systems. And I'm not suggesting that people who have visual impairments or disabilities and such shouldn't have proper
care.
walkable streets. They should. But again, you should plan for it. Why everything has to happen in such a short period of time and take away from other systems is beyond me. It's just not balanced. Yes, sir.
Is there any evidence whatsoever that this CFEC is based on results?
Hell no.
So are you saying that it's basically, on first
something.
approximation, more or less a total waste of money?
I believe it's a total waste of money. In fact, I'm fighting in Marion County because Marion County is the only county forced to do it because we have an unincorporated area that has more than 40,000 people in it. And it's in the county, unincorporated, but it operates like a city.
And of course, my big question is, what would you do with that? I believe it's $1 billion sitting in a bank account someplace dedicated to attempting to control the climate.
What?
The climate hysteria.
Well, I don't, if there's $1 billion sitting anywhere, it's going to get spent.
No, I believe Portland has that much money that they've collected for rich people.
Oh, the PSAP.
Yeah.
funding.
PFAS.
Yeah, and the
PFAS
fact is,
funding.
the fact is,
PFAS.
Oregon emits.
No, the
No, PSAP.
corporate, is it the corporate tax? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the cat tax.
yeah, I think it is.
The corporate activity
Yeah.
tax.
So the fact is,
That's collected by the state.
Oregon emits 0.02% of the world's CO2 emissions.
Oh yeah, we can talk about this. So here's the things I'm going to do around climate. I'm going to get rid of the CFAA, which is a plan that gets rid of natural gas. I'm going to get rid of that. It's a rule, it's an executive order that Brown put in that failed, that COTEC reignited in December of 24. I'm going to make that go away right away. because I believe in natural gas, and I also believe in the natural gas conversion of electricity because it works. I also believe in nuclear. I'm the only candidate in this race that's gone to the Washington State nuclear site and been educated on how we get our seat back at that table and how much it's going to cost us. Figuring out how I get that money will be the hardest challenge, not getting the seat back at the table. But I expect the federal government to help me under the current administration. I also believe that we have to have a proper transmission plan. This electricity isn't just about generation, it's about distribution and how you properly distribute it based on the densities of your communities and how fast and how far you can transmit it within the system you have and the system you build and what that build looks like, and how we don't destroy the farmland in the process.
Thank you.
Right now, the city of LaPine, which is, like microscopic in comparison to Portland, is in an outrage over 20,000 acres that have been asked to transition into solar farming. And they're just totally against it. I understand why they're against it, but they don't grow any food on that land. But in my community, I'm literally blocking transmission to Crook County, which is where Pineville is, to protect land that grows food. So there's a balanced conversation that we have to have with Oregonians, because we do have to produce energy. Where we produce it, how fast we produce it, and where it goes matters. And Oregonians should come first. I do not believe that we should be producing electricity for California over Oregonians. I don't believe in brownouts. They do not have to happen. Again, I've said this before, you can't get in the way of progress, but you can plan it. And when you make a plan, and it's a well-designed plan, you can afford it. Every small jurisdiction has to figure this out if they have competent leadership. But a lot of our jurisdictions do not have competent leadership. And it's because we as Oregonians have been too sidelined by our own choice to hold them accountable and to show up and fight for what we want. And I'm accountable to that. I didn't get involved until 2018. But now I'm in it like my house is burning to the ground, and I'm not giving up. Even if I don't come out of this on Tuesday as the front runner, I'm not going away. They're going to hear me, and the media appreciates the fact that I ping them now because they figured out that I'm speaking the things that they want to hear, and they want to start delivering on that. Now, if they would just deliver it with the truth, we'll get somewhere.
Excellent.
What really bugs me, and I want to know how you
Okay.
feel, well, I can tell you a lot of things about that,
I have a list too.
the special interest groups in Oregon, well, every state has them, but Oregon, it's like, unless you are part of a special interest group, you don't belong anymore. If you're a normal
Citizen.
you don't fit in the groove.
Mm-hmm.
And what can we do so the farmer who is the normal farmer, or
I
whatever
think that we restore reality back to our neighborhoods
But how?
by having a governor that says stop being dumb. I really do.
In the way we act with our kids.
Well, I
So
do-
much of
yeah.
it is we pamper them until they're little delicate
Well,
creatures that
I
can't
don't.
play football.
My 20-year-old sitting in the back of the room, we can talk
Yeah,
about
I
what
thought.
Yeah, we don't pamper. I think the truth is that we, first of all, we haven't had a leader in the governor's office in a long time that's raised children. I mean, our last two governors do not have children, and the one before that
Yeah.
was only a part-time dad. And the one before that, his kids were grown. So having a governor that can be relatable to the reality of family life in the governor's office is going to matter.
Yeah.
It will. And when I say to you, I don't believe that the division of church and state should exist, I really mean that. I believe that we should return our communities to the communities. And we need to let the religious organizations lead where they want to lead appropriately.
Exactly.
You know, one of the things that we have proven in Marion County is that governments can work well with faith-based organizations in success of all the social issues, as long as those organizations don't force the concept of Christ on the recipient. And if you are a good church, then you don't, because you wait for them to receive it.
Right.
And Marion County has funded multiple faith-based organizations with government money successfully and produced real documented outcomes that are evidence-based with true stability because it's community-led.
Well, and you know, the other thing is, and I deal a lot with mostly homeless mothers and children mothers that are coming
Okay.
off of addictions. And I'll tell you, it drives me almost crazy because why should they work? They get free clothing allowance. They get everything free. And so when I'm trying to help them, let's get a job, let's teach your kids. You know, before I met my current husband, I was a single mom for years, and I can tell you, I never thought of welfare.
Sure.
I mean, my father was a minister, so I was used to, I got an extra chicken leg, you want it, you know, you can have it. And so now over and over, I go through the same with.
I just think there's an imbalance in the service system of care. But
Yeah,
I will
and
say,
that
this might not be a
makes
popular idea, but I told you I'd tell you the truth. I think that the family unit has been destroyed. And I think that there is a lack of responsibility to what it is to be a parent and what it is to have a child. And I believe that we need to fix that in our society because I don't believe children should be born for profit. And I don't believe that they should be born because somebody wasn't being responsible. There is a way to invest in prevention systems of care in Oregon, which is a system right now that's underfunded by $700 million a year. And we have to take responsibility for our lifestyle. We do. You know, I'm the only candidate in this race that's experienced the abortion complex in Oregon, and I was 16. And we don't have systems today that are properly stabilized to help young abandoned women understand what their worth and value is. We don't have hard conversations with young girls about the fact that you don't have to be loved by be performing with sex. There's a lot that we are missing in the reality of growing really strong men and women in our culture today.
It's getting worse.
And I grew out of that. I grew up through it and felt very ashamed for a very long time about the life I lived and the things that I lived through. I don't have that shame anymore because I was healed from my husband. I was taught to be loved, and it took a long time. But I think the fact that I have overcome the shame that I've experienced from the lifestyle my mom lived, the choices that I made to find love and what that meant, allows me a unique space to stand up and speak the hard, uncomfortable truths. And I will say to any parent, you made the choice to bring them into this world, and I will help you stabilize. And also, the thing that people don't like to hear is that I believe that if you have a child, you should love and support that child. And sometimes that means that we need to help you through some things with a hand up, not a hand out.
Exactly.
And there's a stark difference between what that means. In fact, last week, Natalie and I were down in Medford, and another candidate who calls herself a Republican, which she is not, well, she wants to produce a drag queen alley in Portland. And she came to the Multnomah County Republican Forum. Huh?
Did you see?
Well, we already have a drag queen alley. Like, Dark South 15's down there. Like, there's enough drag queen shows in Portland for, like, anybody, regardless of that. I don't know what that was about.
Because of her handout.
Oh, her handout. So she gets up there and tells her story, and she says, I don't care what you think. Handouts are appropriate. That's how I succeeded in life. And I was like, we were at the Jackson County GOP event. And I was like, well, that's going to go over like lead brick, but we'll see. And then she described her story. And her story was a hand up. Somebody in her community helped her with housing so she could get a degree so she could support her family.
Yes.
Her theory and definition of what a handout versus a hand up was convoluted. And also, I don't really think she has all the ducks in a row to help produce like real thoughts here. But for me, I had people in my community who invested in me. A woman who bought me my first work uniform. An employer that helped me get food when I was homeless. I didn't, at the time, I was just surviving as a child. But now, looking back, they were people in the community that saw me as a human. And that they knew that if they just showed me love, if I saw it the right way, I could succeed. And I do believe in paying it forward and replicating that system. And it can be done, and I do it every day as a county commissioner. And I've invested in many, many programs in crisis response that aren't long-term funded, because crises aren't forever, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but they're not. In Oregon, they might be, but we're trying to curb that. There's ways to prevent outcomes, or to produce outcomes.
I have a question for
And
you.
I've been up here forever, so I appreciate it if you want to leave.
I worked with a young man and his sister. They were illegal from Mexico,
Okay?
okay? She had 4 different IDs and she was getting assistance from 4 different counties.
Yeah.
Happens so often.
Well,
How can
counties
you
don't.
stop that?
Well, so counties do not perform assistance in Oregon. The state does, and they have county-based offices.
Okay,
So the first thing, Trump's already taking care of that. He did it under the big beautiful bill. In fact, on June 1st, every recipient in Oregon who receives federal Medicaid benefits, which is SNAP, the handout for the food card or health
Has a
care.
limit now.
Well, aside from the limit, they have to do an in-person review
Yes.
every 6 months.
Yes.
So that woman has to go to an office in her county. They're going to audit her. And right now they're auditing people because I got a call from a woman who lives in Arkansas now a few months ago who just received a judgment for $8,000 because she was audited and overpaid, and now they're making her pay it back. Because the state has to pay the feds back because the state is being audited by the feds. And that is a good thing.
I
This
know
starts
that's
June
going
1st?
on right
June
now,
1st.
too.
Yeah, so I'm not joking you. Like any day, you're going to see the DSA in Portland start losing their minds because Donald Trump is going to make everybody starve to death. I'm certain that will be the tagline.
Yeah.
She called you
He's
from
killing
Arkansas?
the baby.
She used to be in Oregon. She used to live here, and her judgment is placed from the state of Oregon, and she bought a house. So they tracked her to Arkansas, and they are garnishing her wages from her new employer in Arkansas to pay back Oregon benefits that they will have to pay back to the feds.
But, so when you get those benefits, eventually you have to pay them back.
No.
If they're over
So
the.
so 2 things. If you legally receive the appropriate allocation, unless you become a millionaire and have adequate assets for them to garnish, you never have to pay back. Never.
Okay.
But if you are a thief of the system and you have taken more than your share and they trigger it and figure it out and audit you, you will have to pay it back. And they can legally garnish 1/3 of your wages until it is returned.
And they do state skip, like here to Washington, because when one.
The
ends-
users.
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably do. I don't know about that. I mean, there's serial abusers of all systems because we've allowed that. I think that there's an imbalance in Oregon. I'll tell you a story. Back in 2008, when the recession happened, my husband's always worked in construction. We now own a plumbing company. He lost his job. I worked for a nonprofit. I lost my job. For 9 months, we were on state benefits, receiving food benefits. I ended up getting a good job and still had money on my benefit card. And I went back down to the office. It was almost $900 and said, I don't need this money.
They don't want to take it back.
Yep.
They had no mechanism to take it
Oh,
back.
that's right.
My daughter
They
did that
can
years
sit
back.
there forever.
Yeah.
Well, no. So I said, nope, because I know, I read the fine print on the back of this contract that if I ever become a millionaire, and God willing I will, you're going to come and take this money from me. And I'm not paying you that $900 that I tried to give back plus interest. So get this off of my record. So for a year, I interacted with them until they figured out how to take that money off that card and make sure that adequately I only received what I needed at that time. Yeah, so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, didn't JD just send 50 letters out, one to every state? The money is not going to come to the state till you audited the person that you're going to give this money to.
I don't know. I'm sure he probably
You
did.
did.
I don't pay a lot of
You
attention to the federal government other than the things I can
Well,
tangibly
here's my
interact
question.
with.
What can we get from Trump, who sees Oregon, I think, a bit of as a carbon call on the United States? How can we get him to work with us, to make sure that ICE is working efficiently, to make sure that we're getting law enforcement that we're not?
Well, he's being
And
sued. by everybody.
Yeah, but I'm suing her. I'm suing our governor right now as a county commissioner.
Oh, good.
So,
Also, could you address people in our state as well? Can you address all the counties who want to go and make greater,
Are
Yes.
sanctuary
and sanctuaries?
policies illegal, unconstitutional?
I'll tell you as soon as my court order comes out. That's what I'm suing the governor on. So Marion County is suing the governor and the attorney general and Pam Bondi, the federal attorney general, on the sanctuary law. It got rejected from court recently and we just appealed because we're not letting this go. A court has to determine if it's constitutional or not. And so we are fighting for that.
Is that federal or state court?
Federal. Yeah, because we're being sanctioned essentially by the federal government because we can't comply under the 2020 Promise Act. So as governor, what I can do is force a referendum on the sanctuary law in two parts. One, I'm going to come for the 2021 Act right away because that Promise Act is what restricts law enforcement's ability to work with ICE and Border Patrol locally, and that has to be reversed. It is causing really serious problems in our communities. And you can go to the Statesman's Journal right now and Google Marion County and immigration, and you can read the criminals that we are protecting in Oregon under the Democrat regime. And I'm talking child rapists, murderers, I mean, the worst of the worst. And they're victimizing their communities because these people are all out on parole living within the communities of their victims.
Oh, yeah.
It's
And
disgusting.
taunting their victims.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but their existence is a problem in that space. What was your second question? You asked me two questions. Something about ICE and then there was something else. Yeah.
Well,
Your
about,
lawsuit, maybe? Or-
well, 39% of the state wants to secede.
Yes. So I have a great relationship with the Greater Idaho, the Greater Jefferson, and the Greater exiting of Oregon states. I've worked with their leadership team and talked to them. It is not a decision of the governor. It's a decision of both legislatures, Oregon and Idaho, and it has to be ratified by Congress. You cannot move a state line without Congress's approval. It's next to impossible. What those residents of Oregon want is a seat at a table. And I have openly declared I will set that table for you. I will convene whatever meeting you as a set of Oregonians wants me to convene, and you can go fight it out. But what would be better, because that will take decades, it will never happen in my opinion, is to elect a governor that can just actually serve them in the communities that they live in right now.
Yeah.
Protect their land, protect their water, protect their culture, their way of life.
Well, here's what I heard. Kotek would never have let that happen.
That's right.
So
Neither will
apparently-
Drazen and neither will Deal. They have openly said
But
they
that
won't do
land is
it.
valuable because she doesn't care about the people who are there. She doesn't care about the ranches. She cares
Right.
about the minerals that are out there.
Well,
And we have tons of minerals in Oregon.
she
that
doesn't, we're not mining those minerals.
No, we're not mining them. And that part of the state has the most of them.
We should be mining them. But her not setting that table is just dismissive of
Well,
the
it's
reality that she doesn't care
like,
about
it's like
them.
Alberta in Canada.
What?
Canada won't let Alberta
Right,
mine their stuff, and they're a bazillionaire economy.
right.
And-
Well, that's the environmentalists though
And
that fund TINA. That's not a Republican issue. That's fully a Democrat issue. Every Republican candidate that's had the stage has said, we will mine this state for the natural resources that exist from timber to rocks. We've all said it.
And it will come.
I'm already doing it as a county commissioner. I am leading right now the stewardship agreements for the state with the United States Forest Service to harvest timber in 3 of our counties, and mine is one of them, because I can't get the state to do their job.
So what about in Eastern Oregon about letting the cattle go or roam freely on federal lands?
That's an Endangered Species Act issue, and right now the federal government is reforming the rules to remove the word harm, and when the word harm comes out of the Endangered Species Act, then we can graze federal lands again.
So
We're working on that
But
as
they kept
counties.
talking about that for three years after this big fire that they had. Was it last year or the year before?
We've had multiple. I had one in 2020 that took out a
Well,
third
we
of my
had that
canyons.
massive one where the guy went all the way around on that and set fires on the road.
Well, that was in there. So there's been many. We've had 3 people go to prison over setting fires since 2020.
So the fires.
What's the question?
The question was, the feds keep them off the land for 3 years if there's been a fire.
That's because of the Endangered Species Act.
Right, exactly.
But if we can remove the word harm, which is not a requirement of the congressional rule, then we can graze those lands and that 3-year rule goes away. Right now in Marion County, the 2021 wildfire that came through, I'm the commissioner leading recovery up there. We have substantial amount of federal land that was burned to the ground. And the feds first came in about 8 months after the fire and started cutting timber to harvest it. But then they had an injunction by the environmentalists because they wanted to preserve that timber for the species. Well, the species haven't returned, but the black beetles are there. So now we have a problem with living timber being destroyed by a particular invasive species. Donald Trump has made it clear that he will reform. He campaigned on this for Western conservative states to support him, will reform the Endangered Species Act. And the United States Fish and Wildlife and USDA and USFS are all working on it right now. I was just there in February and I met with the Director of the United States Forest Service and Fish and Wildlife and specifically talked about how we can start utilizing our federal lands. 52% of Oregon is federally owned. And we need to graze it, and we need to harvest it, and we need to mine it. And we can once we get 2 sections of the Endangered Species Act modified, one including that word harm being removed.
Okay, so can I ask you the other question? We have no oil refineries in Oregon. We're
Not yet.
dependent on Washington, one pipe coming in, and it breaks down from time to time. Unfortunately, it's never stopped flowing
Right.
oil. Or do you see us doing anything to become more independent and less risk averse?
Well, I think less risk adverse. So we do need to have a refinery here in Oregon, but getting over the environmental hump will cost the state a lot of money. So there is a coalition right now of liquid fuel owners from the state of Washington and Canada that are working together to try to help get a Republican elected. And when that happens, we will create storage systems in the metro area, on the east side of the metro area, for liquid fuels to come off that pipeline, and it will reduce the challenge that we have of that pipeline breaking and us not having any emergency plan if it goes down entirely. Getting an actual refinery going in the state will take close to 20 years to get through all of the things. If you have the right governor in place, you can create the plan. But an immediate reaction to that is creating a storage facility so we can import that fuel into our economy, our own economy, and have control over it in the event of a disaster or breakage.
So there's no talk about building another pipeline down so that we're not, if something really.
That is a federal, that would require a massive federal investment. And we have a lot of issues with tribes, if you know that, on the Pacific Northwest. And bringing a pipeline in here would be really, really difficult. So right now there's not a conversation, but that's not to say that when we start having these liquid fuel conversations and creating stability and sustainability for Oregon, that it doesn't come online. Yes, sir. And then we probably should wrap up because I have to drive home.
Well, I have a statement and a question.
Okay.
I think you might be able to break the back of the environmental wackos by pointing out the amount of money they are receiving from Russia and China with the goal of destroying our society. I have a list that I just Googled it and got a list, pages and pages long, of major newspapers, New York Times, Washington Post, that kind of thing, running stories about Russian and Chinese money in our headline, everybody knows their name, environmental organization. Sierra Club, Wilderness Society, all the big ones. They're taking Russian money and you can use that to break them. Now, my question, do you know the root cause of the extreme high price of housing in Oregon?
The root cause, I think it's compression.
It's what?
Compression. So in the system of housing development, there's multiple factors as to what it costs to get a house move-in ready. At every level of government, there's a series of policies that you have to get through in order to be able to pull a permit. There's infrastructure desert across the state, meaning any developer in Oregon struggles to come into a community and just build a house on a piece of ground that already has the systems to be able to connect to. The communities don't have the money, so local jurisdictions, cities and counties, are restricted by measures 5 and 50 for taxation, and they don't have enough local revenue to generate systems development, meaning underground infrastructure, water, sewer, and then roads, bridges, and highways to produce communities. So they rely on developers to cover that cost, which you hear in the open market is system delivery charges, SDCs. that the back door behind SDCs is really long and deep, and it navigates through multiple layers of government, all designed within the state. So you have DEQ regulations, you have land use regulations, you have the impacts of Senate Bill 100 and urban growth boundary issues. You have land use issues around exclusive farm use and special agriculture. Depending on where you're trying to build a house, the cost is scalable in escalation. An example of this that can create a visual is in Bend, the fastest growing community in Oregon. Right now, Hayden Homes, which was one of our largest residential developers, has acquired the southeast third of the community to develop in 3 phases. But Hayden, that's literally the guy's name that owns it, is slow rolling the development because he has to pay for the infrastructure. And when he has to pay for the infrastructure, he's going to pass that cost on to the house. But if you have a governor that understands the understanding of the compression of the regulations and what to get rid of that's not necessary, which is many, many layers, and that governor can prioritize funding of infrastructure by funding of growth, the priority of growth by community request, you can build that infrastructure within 3 years. And then at the end of that 3rd year, it takes less than 18 months to push up a development. We just saw this in Marion County in East Salem, where we worked with a developer. Are you all familiar with Salem at all? Do you know where the mushroom plant was?
No.
Okay, well, there was a massive plot of land that hits our urban growth boundary on the farthest east side of the city that is now all housing. And they built it out in 3 years because we walked with them the whole way. We helped them with all the infrastructure for transportation, and we helped them navigate the permit process for all of the underground needs, communicated with the schools, et cetera, et cetera. They're just opening 300 apartments, and they did 500 houses. So almost 1,000 units in 3 years. And they're affordable housing. So and affordable is not low income or vouchered housing. This is for like working class families that can go buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
What's the cost?
The cost is between $350,000 and $400,000. That seems like a lot, but if you come up to Portland, it's double that.
Did they get any subsidies from the government?
No.
So I have a
What we did with them, because we required them to improve the transportation system around them because we don't have the money and the state sucks. We made them pay us the $3 million and we held it in a trust. And then we made them go and build it themselves, so we didn't put government costs on top of it, but we held it so they were required to do it. And they just modified that.
So that's true affordable housing.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your answer was enlightening. I think you're missing a couple of key points.
I'm sure you do.
The way it used to be is that the developer would buy vacant land, put in streets, put in sewers. Then one development in Texas, they put in the towns, the city hall and all the schools and stuff. Zero government money. And then all of that cost is in the cost of the house that they sell.
Right.
I didn't hear you talking about that concept, and I think it's something you should look at.
Well, that concept today costs like 100 times more because of all the regulations that are required. So right now, as an
Wait a minute,
example.
that's the other thing to get rid of. But you also did not mention the fact that the government has intentionally made the cost of land essentially unaffordable.
I agree. I did say Senate Bill 100. That's
Yeah.
the requirement of urban growth boundaries, and that's why land costs so
And
much.
that needs to go. Completely
Agreed.
get rid of it.
Well,
Then you will
I don't
have,
actually agree with that entirely, but I do think that we need to modify it for actual growth. I don't believe in forced density. I don't believe we should warehouse our communities. I think people should live within a culturally responsive, livable space.
well, yes, but the problem is when you restrict building way out, that land cannot compete with compete to lower the price of the close-in land. When a developer in the close-in land goes to a landowner and says, I want to buy your power, no, that's too much money, I'll just go out into the 10 miles.
Right, but the problem with that method today is that those individuals expect the government to pave their roads. And we can't afford that. If you wanna live in Timbuktu, you should have to suffer by living on a gravel road. The issue that you described with the development from the past, where developers just went and did all these things, they didn't follow specific standards. And now, under state and federal law, we have to bring them up to these codes. That's why all these roads are dilapidated across Oregon, because we can't keep up with modern standards, because we didn't have a standard in the beginning that everybody had to manage. I literally just brought 37 new roads into the Marion County road system. I'm the road authority as a county commissioner in my county. I know way more about roads than I ever want to. Those 37 roads were designed by the developer. And if you look at the deed of every house on that road, technically that homeowner is responsible for that road. But do you know how much it costs right now to repave a road in a standard neighborhood that has 25 houses on it? It's almost $3 million.
No.
Because nobody reads their deeds, never. It's the most infuriating thing I've experienced as a county commissioner. They don't realize that they're responsible for the pavement in front of their road on a non-government owned system. But when we have to bring it into our system, we have to urbanize it, which a 1 mile of road under the current federal standards costs $1 million more for urbanization. But not in addition to the fact that developments before didn't always accommodate 2-lane passage roads. They had a single lane road, and now everybody has 25 kids, so we have all the cars on the roads. We have a problem with a lack of standards. So there's a need for centralization and standardization, but it has to be at a minimum. And right now, everything is at a maximum, because we're planning for people to have to be walkable communities. I'm going to walk that back. I don't believe in 15-minute cities in Oregon unless we're getting rid of urban growth areas.
Yeah.
I do believe they are possible. I have family that lives out in Chicago, and I have watched them balloon out into these suburban communities and have beautiful walkable communities with transportation, education, and shopping all within a nice 15-minute space. But they planned it over 30 years to get what they have here. Oregon acts like they deserve everything tomorrow. In 30 years, we could have this with a thoughtful plan.
Of course, my question is why we want it.
Because our community.
We should have to. It should be driven from the bottom up. I firmly believe that government should be run from the local community up. Every city and county should be working with the state to design what the culture of their community wants. And if they don't want it, they shouldn't have it.
Yes. I have a question regarding a current issue Oregon has that could be in our future as well, but how it's an immediate issue, and that's drought.
Yeah.
We have a drought, and so part of the drought is climate, right? We didn't get enough rains, we didn't get enough snow, blah, 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 blah.
Maybe if we stop having wildfires, we would have more snow and we would have more canopy to maintain the snow.
That's what I want.
Okay.
And why do we
I have a lot of feelings on wildfire.
Yes, that's what I want.
So it's right now it's very reactive because we have no plan.
Right.
And in 2020, when this really started becoming a major issue, Governor Brown grounded air resources to put out fires early.
Yes. Yes.
That is a problem.
Yes.
Right now, I'm the only candidate that says, and I have actively said this, and I just lost my mind when Kotek had her press conference last week about pre-fire response. We need to fund the National Guard properly so they can be responsive to wildfires. We need to have an active, proper seat at the federal table on federal lands to mitigate fires immediately, and then they need to reimburse us immediately.
Yes.
And just today, the Attorney General filed a participatory lawsuit against USDA over stewardship agreements and access on federal land, which causes a whole lot of problems for us coming into this wildfire season, because now we don't have a partner willing to talk to us, which means if a fire kicks off right now on federal land, we're gonna have to wait for federal response because the state just pissed off the bee's nest, which is frustrating. I can't make the trees grow faster, but I can protect the trees that we have. And right now, I'm a leading county. I'm literally just filed a lawsuit yesterday against the Army Corps of Engineers on the Detroit Lake drawdown and the danger to our drinking water system in the Willamette Valley and the impact of the drought that they just published today from the Army Corps over the lack of tree canopy and the lack of snow storage because of those wildfires. They can't tell me any level of bullshit that I'm going to believe, because I'm living it right now. I live up that canyon, and I have seen the transformation. And I was in DC in February having a very healthy conversation with Army Corps about the lack of tree canopy and their choice to ignore it and how they're processing our dams. Yes, we have a water issue this year, but in the metro area, we didn't have any wildfires up here to prevent tree canopies, to prevent water storage. That's a choice that they're making on Bonneville and the other systems that feed into the Columbia that help the metro area and the Columbia, the northeast, west area of the state. They can reverse those choices.
Okay.
But they have to have a proper partner in the governor's office to fight them on it. And a good portion of it is the Endangered Species Act. And we have to have a good partner in the governor's office to work with the Trump administration to get that across the finish line before he leaves office. It is a requirement. Otherwise, we're just going to be in more harm going forward. And if we don't prevail in November, there are 17 counties fighting for our lives, and we have made serious gain in the federal administration as a partner. And it's not because we have any help in the legislature and we have no help in the governor's office. We are just lifting it as hard and fast as we can.
Thank you very much.
One real quick question. Why, when we are needing water, do we have to pay for water runoff in Multnomah County? Or, yeah, water.
So
It makes no sense. We pay a lot for
you're
water
paying for
that
water
goes
processing. So there's a new federal rule, and I say new, it's like 3 years old, where the feds under Biden forced a new rule for PFAS. I do not remember what the acronym stands for, but it's about the toxicity that comes off of like the lead production of vehicles, and you go to a truck wash and they wash their soaps into the system, and all these chemicals are coming through, and they have to process that out and turn it into a drinking water. And there's toxic levels of it. I'm not an expert on it, but Biden made it worse. Trump's trying to figure it out, and we are still having to comply. All the governments have to comply with these treatment standards. And the treatment standards are what costing us a lot of money. That Bull Run facility, 50% of the cost escalation is about the treatment. And a lot of it has to do with EPA under the federal administration prior to Trump.
Well, in Portland, you pay on the rain on your whole property.
Yeah, the rain.
The grass.
Yeah.
Well, that's just because you're run by a bunch of liberals. That's just
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. The bigger the lot you have, the more you pay.
Yeah, it's the rain cost, the more rain cost.
So it's like, are they, how do they even measure that?
By how much it drains by your lot size, and they charge you so much per foot.
All it is that it rained 1.6 inches, they charge you for that.
On your whole property.
And then where's that money go? Your family.
Good question.
I've never heard of such a thing.
The farm one.
Not my wife, but like.
Yeah, we can show you.
No, I thank you. But I just have never heard of
It's
it. I mean,
ridiculous.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah.